Every evening before darkness falls, this man rings a bell throughout the entire town. As soon as people hear it, they drop their work and rush home. The moment the sun sets, doors and windows are sealed shut, and a stone talisman is hung above every doorway. Because when night falls, this town no longer belongs to humans. Countless demons creep out from the jungle. They take on the faces of the dead, luring people to open their doors, then they kill them and devour their insides. Once morning breaks, they vanish back into the trees. That's why Steve rings that bell every single evening, warning everyone to hide before the sun disappears. He had done this since he was 6 years old. For 96 straight days, no one in this town had fallen prey to those demons. But that record was about to shatter. That very night, a man from town had drunk himself senseless inside the bar. There was no way to get him home safely, so the bar owner bolted every window and door and let him sleep it off there. Meanwhile, his wife and young daughter were home alone. Night fell, and when her husband still hadn't returned, the wife locked the door tight and pulled her daughter close. As darkness deepened, the girl began praying for her father to come home safe. Suddenly, she heard her grandmother's voice calling from the window. She rushed over and pulled back the curtain, and there, standing outside, was her grandmother, though she had been dead for some time. The figure pleaded that it was freezing outside and begged to be let in, just for a moment. The trusting little girl reached toward the latch and began opening the window. By the time her mother made it upstairs, it was already too late. The next morning, the man stumbled back from the bar and found the whole town gathered outside his house. Before he could even ask what happened, Steve struck him hard across the face. This wasn't the first warning he'd ignored. Steve had told him again and again that any house with children must have its windows nailed shut, because children were the demon's easiest targets. But he had brushed it off every time. And because of that same carelessness, his entire family had been taken by the demons overnight. When he saw his wife and daughter lying lifeless on the floor, he collapsed to his knees, sobbing. But regret changed nothing now. Steve's fury only deepened. This man hadn't just lost his family, he'd endangered the whole town. Because this place carried a chilling law. Whenever someone died here, a new soul would arrive and become trapped in this town forever. And that's exactly what happened. On the day the mother and daughter were being laid to rest, a car pulled into town. Everyone froze, stunned that new arrivals had come so soon. Steve quickly signaled for silence and began questioning the family inside. Once he realized they had wandered in by accident, he silently waved them onward, saying nothing more. But the real nightmare was only beginning. Moments later, the man drove off with his family, certain they'd soon be far away. But not long after, he blacked out at the wheel because no matter which road they took, they kept ending up back in the very same town. At first he assumed he'd simply taken a wrong turn, so he tried driving the opposite way. Yet somehow they arrived at that same town all over again.